Hello everyone, welcome back to my channel. Today I'll be teaching you all a new lesson in Java. Today I'll be teaching you all about the for loop in Java. You use the for loop when you know the exact amount of times you need to loop something, and it can be used instead of the while loop. So let's get started. First of all, let's have a task made inside the src folder. You go to src, select new and select Java class, and let's name this Java 6. And we'll have the main method made inside our Java class. We type psvm and press tab button, and we made the main method inside our Java class. Now let's get started. First of all, the for loop has a word that is in the lower case, a for without being an uppercase word, and inside we declare three statements, statement 1, 2 and 3. In the statements, the first statement is executed only one time before executing the code block, and the statement 2 defines the condition for executing the code block, and the statement 3 is executed every time after the code block has been executed. So that's how the for loop in Java works. I hope you got a clear knowledge about the for loop in Java. Now let's see examples for this for loop. First of all, let's remove all these words. Now let's have an example for the for loop in Java. We type for in lowercase letters and have an int I which is equal to 0, and we check if I is lesser than 5, and we iterate I by incrementing it. Next step, we put the parentheses, and inside we say s out, and we print our I value. Now let's run this code and check the output. What do you think will be the output? Let's check it out. We have got our output. Values 0, 1, 2, 3 and 4 have been printed. This happened because we said that the starting value is 0, and we check the value is lesser than 5, and we iterate it. So until the I is lesser than 5, it gets incremented inside our code. That's what happened in this code example. Alright, now let's have I equals to 1 and check the output for this code. Alright, it printed 1, 2, 3 and 4. This happened because we gave the int I and initialized it with 1, and we checked if 1 to the next numbers are lesser than 5 and iterated and incremented them inside our code block. That's what happened when we put I equals 1 and ran this code. That's why we got 1, 2, 3, 4 as the outcome of the code. Now let's have another example for the for loop. We'll start from I equals to 0 and let's check if I is lesser than or equals to 10, and run this and check the output. Okay, we got 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 printed. Well, to explain this, I'll tell you it shortly. What happened in this code is, we give an initial value which is equals to 0, and if the I value is lesser than or equals to 10, it will be iterated many times using the increment operator and printed as a loop. That's what happens inside this code. When we loop it, we print the I many times and we get our answer by iterating. The for loop is used when you know the definite amount of value to be checked until it can loop. So it can't be used in the while loop. So we have the for loop specially made for this. That's how the for loop in Java works. Now we'll have a code that will print the even values from 0 to 10. For that we must make this I equals to I plus 2. And let's run this code and see the even numbers printed. Okay, we got our even numbers from 0 to 10. 0, 2, 4, 6, 8 and 10 got printed. That means this can be also used in our code to iterate our even numbers, odd numbers and any number we want. The for loop will iterate all the numbers when in a loop, if we know the definite amount to be looped. Now let's have multiples of 3 printed from 0 to 100. We'll change this 2 to 3 and here we'll make this 100. And let's check this out. Let's check the answer for this code block. Alright, we got our values printed. The multiples of 3 got printed from 0 to 100. 3, 6, 9, 12, 15, 18, 21 till 99 got printed as the output for this code example. That's how we find multiples of 3 in Java, by using the for loop. Likewise, let's print some other examples. Likewise, we'll print multiples of 5 between 0 to 100. Let's print this and check out our output. Okay, we got our values from 0 to 100. The multiples of 5, 5, 10, 15, 20, 25 till 100 got printed as the output for this code block. Those are some of the ways this loop can be used. The for loop can be used. There are many ways to use the for loop. We can have another for loop inside our for loop. For example, we can have a for loop inside a for loop. Let's check an instance for this. We'll remove this 100 and set it as 10. And here we'll increment I and we'll have another for loop made. Int j equals to 0, j lesser than equals to 2, j plus plus. And we less out j now and check the answer. Let's run this out. What do you think will be the output? Let's see it in the code example. We'll run this and check it. We got our answer. Firstly, 0 was printed, then the other loop was printed, and next again I printed, and after that J got printed. Likewise, the for loop ran till 10 and 0, 1 and 2. This is called a nested for loop in Java. It is called likewise because we have a loop nested inside another loop. That's why we call this the nested for loop in Java. I showed you a nested for loop example. Alright, let's check the other lesson which is after this. Now we'll have another example for a nested for loop in Java, which I will explain to you. First remove this code and let's paste it. Now in this block of code we have two ints, one for weeks which is equals to 3 and one for days which is equals to 7. And we have a for loop where int I equals to 1 is initialized, and then I is checked if I is lesser than or equal to weeks, and where I gets pre-incremented, and there says how to print week which is I, and inside that for loop there's another for loop that starts with j equals to 1 and checks if j is lesser than or equals to days and pre-increments j. And inside it there says out that prints the day which is equals to j. Let's print this and check the output for our code example. Alright, we got our example printed inside our console. This printed firstly week 1 and printed the days 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 and 7, and after that it printed the second week, the third week also, with days from 1 to 7. That's how this block of code worked in Java. I hope you got a clear understanding of the nested for loop in Java. Next we'll move on to another lesson in Java. Now I will teach you a code where we can print a pattern using the nested for loop. In this there's an int variable which is named rows which is equals to 5, and a for loop checks if I is equals to 1 and if I is lesser than equals to rows which is 5 and pre-increments it. And inside that for loop there's another for loop which starts from j equals to 1 and checks if j is lesser than equals to I and pre-increments j. Then inside there's a out with j printed with concatenation of double quotes with space, and after that there's a s out with double quotes. Now what do you think will be the output? Let's check it. Then let's run this out and check it right now. We got our answer. We got a triangular shaped numbers printed inside our console. This happened because we used the nested for loop to print it this way. That's how we got this shaped output, our pattern. Those are some good things which you can do with nested for loops in Java. Let's move on to another topic in the loops lesson. Now I'll teach you about the for each loop in Java. It's also known as the enhanced for loop in Java. It also starts with lowercase for word, and inside we first give it a type of the variable, and next we give it a variable name, anything you want, and after that, after some colon, we have our array or collection name. Likewise, inside it we can declare a code block which can be executed and loop through some values. That's what happened inside the enhanced for loop or the for each loop in Java. Now let's check an example for this. Now here is the example for the for each loop. We have made an array of strings named cars, and inside we have Volvo, BMW, Ford and Mazda as our values of the cars array, string array. And after that we have our enhanced for loop or the for each loop, which loops through the string arrays, which is the cars arrays. Here we have given firstly the type of the array, and next we have given it a name, which is I, and lastly we have our array or collection name given inside our for loop, and after that we have printed the I value by using an S out. Let's check this out and see what happens when we run it. What do you think will be the output? Let's check it after running. Let's check it out. Alright, we got our answer. Volvo, BMW, Ford and Mazda got printed inside our console. That's an example for the for each loop or the enhanced for loop in Java. Here inside the enhanced for loop, firstly we have given the type of the elements used, and we have given it a name, and later on we have colon which divides the name of the elements, and after that we can print our code block. That's what happens inside an enhanced for loop in Java. I hope you understood something about the enhanced for loop in Java, and I hope you will practice this when you are free. So that's it for today's lesson. I hope to see you all in another lesson another time. Until then, goodbye guys, and please take care.